Hi, beautiful soul. This is day 29 of 100 Days to Emotional Power, the discipline of protecting your energy. Today, we're going deeper than the usual advice about self care. We are talking about discipline because protecting your energy is not about candles, vacations, or temporary breaks. It's about the standards, it's about deciding who and what gets access to your emotional system. Many people believe they're tired because they're working too much. In reality, they're drained because their energy is constantly leaking through conversations, thoughts, obligations, digital noise, and unstructured availability. Energy is not only physical strength, it is attention, it is emotional stability, it is cognitive clarity, it is decision capacity. And if you don't protect it deliberately, other people's moods, expectations, and crises will consume it. Let's start with something extremely common and extremely underestimated. Over explaining. Imagine you make a simple decision. You decline an invitation because you need rest. Instead of saying, I can't make it tonight, you write a long paragraph justifying why you are tired, why you had a long week, why you feel overwhelmed, why it is not personal. You are not communicating, you are negotiating your worth, and that negotiation costs energy. Now imagine doing this 5 times a week. Small leak, small leak, small leak. After months, you feel exhausted without understanding why. Here is another real life example. A professional woman works in a competitive environment. She is competent and respected, but every time she sends an email, she adds extra sentences to soften her authority. Sorry if this sounds direct. Just my small opinion. I might be wrong, but each sentence looks harmless, but psychologically, she's shrinking herself repeatedly. That constant internal adjustment drains more energy than the work itself. Protecting energy sometimes means shortening your communication and standing firmly in your decisions. Now, let's talk about digital leakage. A man wakes up and immediately opens social media. Within minutes, he sees someone announcing a promotion, someone traveling, someone sharing an opinion that irritates him, and breaking news that activates anxiety. Before brushing his teeth, he's already comparing, reacting, and emotionally stimulated. He carries that subtle tension into his morning meeting. Nothing dramatic happened, but his baseline is no longer neutral. Multiply that by 365 days. It is not harmless, it is a structural energy loss. Another example is a mother spends her day working, caring for children, and managing responsibilities. At night, instead of resting, she scrolls for 2 hours because it feels like me time. But the content is loud, dramatic, emotionally charged. She goes to sleep overstimulated. The next day, she wakes up tired and irritable. She thinks she needs more time off. In reality, she needs cleaner input. Protecting energy means being selective about what enters your mind. Now, let's examine emotional absorption. Imagine you're the stable friend in your group. People call you to vent. You listen deeply, you advise, you reassure. But you never ask yourself whether you have capacity at that moment. You feel responsible for solving their distress. After the call, you feel heavy. You replay their problems. You carry them into your evening. Weeks later, you feel drained and slightly resentful, not because you're unkind, because you had no boundary. Discipline means asking yourself, do I have the energy for this conversation right now? It means sometimes saying, can we walk tomorrow? I want to be fully present. Here is another identifiable scenario. You attend a family gathering where certain topics always trigger tension: politics, money, comparisons. Every time you promise yourself you will not engage, and every time you get pulled into debate, you leave the gathering mentally exhausted. Protecting your energy does not mean avoiding family. It means deciding in advance what you will not participate in. Short responses, neutral tone, no extended arguments, energy preserved. Now, let's move inward. Internal dialogue is one of the biggest energy drains. Suppose you make a small mistake at work. Instead of correcting it and moving on, you spend the entire day criticizing yourself internally. Why am I like this? I always mess things up. That loop consumes focus. You become less productive, which creates more mistakes, which fuels more criticism. Discipline here means interrupting the narrative quickly. Replace global self attack with specific correction. I missed this detail. I will double check next time. That shift saves hours of emotional depletion. Consider two entrepreneurs launching similar projects. One spends energy responding to every negative comment online, defending every critique, monitoring competitors obsessively. The other limits engagement, focuses on production, and ignores unnecessary noise. After 1 year, the second entrepreneur appears calmer and more consistent. The difference is not intelligence, it is energy discipline. Another concrete example is a student preparing for exams, studies 3 hours effectively, but then spends 4 hours worrying about what others are doing, comparing preparation levels, discussing fears in group chats. The mental anxiety consumes more energy than the studying itself. If that student protected mental space by limiting comparison and focusing on defined blocks of work, performance would improve without increasing study time. Protecting your energy also means recognizing subtle self-betrayal. Saying yes when you mean no, agreeing to tasks you don't have capacity for, attending events out of guilt. Each yes carries a hidden cost, and when your calendar is filled with reluctant commitments, resentment grows. Discipline requires tolerating short-term discomfort of saying no to avoid long-term exhaustion. Some people fear that boundaries will make them cold or selfish. In reality, boundaries make generosity sustainable. When you choose consciously where to invest energy, you can be fully present instead of half available and internally resentful. Let's talk about mornings and evenings. The first hour after waking and the last hour before sleep shape your nervous system more than you realize. If your morning begins with urgency and comparison, your baseline becomes reactive. If your evening ends with emotional stimulation and unresolved conversations, your sleep is shallow. Try protecting those windows. No immediate scrolling, no heavy debates before bed. Even small changes in these two zones transform overall stability. There is also energy leakage through unfinished tasks. Open loops, promises you made to yourself but did not complete. Each unfinished commitment occupies mental space. Create a habit of closing loops. If you cannot do something, consciously reschedule or cancel it. Clarify, because clarity preserves energy. Now, understand something important. When you begin protecting your energy, some people will notice. They may say you're distant, less available, less reactive. That is because they were used to unlimited access. Stay steady. Emotional power requires selectivity. Identify 3 recurring drains in your life right now: a specific person, a digital habit, a mental pattern. Design one concrete boundary for each. Maybe it is limiting calls to 20 minutes, maybe. Maybe it is checking social media once a day. Maybe it is refusing to engage in predictable arguments. Small boundaries compound over time. Energy is your currency. Your focus determines your results. Your emotional stability determines your clarity. If you allow constant leakage, you cannot build anything meaningful. Discipline is not harshness, it is self-respect expressed through structure. Even small daily shifts accumulate. Shorter explanations, fewer debates, cleaner input, clearer Boundaries. Within weeks, you will feel more centered. Within months, you will notice a stronger concentration and calmer reactions. This is not dramatic transformation, it is structured conservation. If this talk spoke to you, if you recognize yourself in these examples, if you felt like this talk and it felt familiar in your life and it described your inner experience, then keep listening. Like, share, and subscribe to this channel because this is day 29 of 100 Days to Emotional Power. And every day we talk about one emotional truth that many people live with silently. We will build emotional strength together, not with pressure, not with fake positivity, but with honest reflections that feel real, human, and deeply supportive. You can listen while cooking, cleaning, commuting, working, or resting, like a quiet self-talk that strengthens you slowly. Drop your ideas, questions, and comments down below. I would love to hear from you. See you in the next video.